The night was thick with silence, broken only by the rustle of unseen creatures moving in the alien jungle. Daniel's breath came slow and careful, his boots sinking into soft earth as he tried not to make a sound. The sky above was a heavy sheet of dark clouds, no stars, no moon, just the endless canopy of twisted branches and glowing plants that gave off an eerie blue light. He was alone, separated from his squad after the crash, the wreck of his ship now only smoke in the distance. Daniel was not new to fear. He had seen battles, he had fought enemies. But this silence felt different. It was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of a predator waiting. His hand tightened around the rifle he carried, though he knew the charge was running low. He whispered to himself to stay calm, to keep moving. But his body felt heavy with the weight of unseen eyes. Every step was slow, deliberate. His ears caught the sound of something moving behind him, a faint crunch of leaves. He stopped, holding his breath. The jungle went still again. So still, it felt like the trees themselves were listening. He turned, scanning the darkness. Nothing there. Yet his heart raced. Then he heard it, a voice, soft, low, almost like a lover's whisper, sliding into his ears from the shadows. Your scent is irresistible. I wonder how tender you taste. The words made his skin crawl, not because they were loud, but because they were quiet. Intimate. It was not a shout of war. It was the murmur of someone very close. Too close. Daniel froze, his breath caught. In his throat, he wanted to run, but his training held him still. Running made prey weak, and he knew whatever was out there saw him as prey. The voice was female, but not human. It had a rhythm that was wrong, a softness hiding sharpness. The way the words lingered made him feel like teeth were hidden behind them. He slowly raised his weapon, pointing it at the trees. Show yourself, he whispered. His own voice sounded small, swallowed by the jungle. For a moment, there was no answer, only silence. Then came a low chuckle, smooth and dangerous, like a knife being drawn across stone. Branches shifted above him, and Daniel saw movement. A tall figure stepped into the dim glow of the plants. Her body was slender yet powerful, skin marked with dark patterns that seemed to shift with the light. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. Locking onto him with hunger, her lips curved in a smile. Revealing sharp fangs, she tilted her head as if studying him. A hunter examining the catch. Human, she murmured, her voice both mocking and curious. So rare in this place, so fragile, so alive. She moved with grace, her steps soundless, circling him as if the ground belonged to her. Her eyes never left him. Daniel kept the rifle aimed, but deep inside, he knew she could strike faster than he could pull the trigger. The air between them grew heavy. Her scent reached him, strange and wild, like flowers mixed with blood. His throat tightened. His instincts screamed at him to fight or flee. But he stood frozen. Her smile widened, as if she enjoyed the battle happening inside. His mind? Your heart, she whispered, her head tilting closer. I can hear it, beating so loud, calling me. Daniel clenched his jaw. Stay back, he said, his voice firmer now. The huntress laughed softly, the sound almost gentle, but it cut into him like a blade. Instead of attacking, she stepped closer, so close. He could see the fine marks on her skin, patterns that looked carved by nature itself. Her eyes shone brighter, reflecting the blue glow of the plants. She leaned just enough for him to hear her breath. Warm against the cold night air. You smell of fear, she murmured. But not the weak kind. I like it. Her words sank into him, not as threats, but as promises. Daniel kept his aim steady, though his arms shook slightly. His mind raced with questions. Why was she talking? Why not kill him? He realized then she was playing with him, not just hunting for flesh, but for the thrill of watching him break. A branch cracked in the distance. Daniel's eyes flicked toward the sound. And in that instant, the huntress moved. Her body blurred, and she vanished into the trees. His heart pounded, rifle scanning, searching. But she was gone, only her laughter. Echoing faintly from the shadows, Daniel stood alone again, the silence deeper than before. He swallowed hard, his breath shaky. He had seen her, heard her, and he knew this was no ordinary predator. She wanted him alive, at least for now. She was not just a killer. She was a huntress who enjoyed the chase. The jungle around him seemed to lean closer, every tree, every shadow whispering the same warning. He was prey, but prey with a chance. He tightened his grip on the weapon, his eyes sharp, somewhere in the darkness. The huntress was still there, watching, waiting, smiling. Daniel moved forward slowly, every step echoing louder than before. He whispered to himself, not in fear, this time, but in defiance. If she wants a hunt, then she will get one. And from the shadows, unseen yet felt, came the soft reply of the huntress, her voice smooth as silk. Yes, human. Run for me, asterisk. Daniel moved through the thick jungle slowly, each step careful, each breath controlled. His mind was still spinning from what just happened. The huntress was real, her words, her smile, her eyes. Nothing about her felt normal. She was dangerous, but she hadn't killed him, not yet. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and scanned the glowing vines and twisted trees. The forest pulsed with life, yet everything felt quiet, too quiet, as if all the other creatures were hiding from her too. He didn't know how long he had been walking. Time didn't feel real in this place. It could have been minutes, it could have been hours. But the feeling of being watched never left. Then, without warning, she appeared again. She stepped from the shadows like smoke sliding through air. Her body shimmered under the faint blue light, her eyes glowing gold like twin suns in the night. Daniel raised his weapon fast, but she didn't flinch. You're slow, she said, her voice like silk, smooth and soft. But cold underneath, she took another step toward him, arms at her side, no weapon in sight, her head tilted slightly, like she was studying a strange creature behind glass. I told you to stay back, Daniel warned, his rifle pointed directly at her chest. She smiled, not scared at all. Her movements were graceful, almost lazy, like she didn't care if he pulled the trigger. If you wanted me gone, she said softly, you would have shot already. Daniel didn't answer, but his fingers twitched on the weapon. The huntress took another step, and then another, until she was close enough for him to see the small scar across her cheek. Her eyes looked into his like they were searching his soul. You're not like the others, she whispered. They cry, they beg, you don't. I'm not scared of you, Daniel lied. She smiled again, this time wider, showing sharp, perfect teeth. Yes, you are, she said, but you control. That's interesting. Daniel didn't move, didn't lower his weapon. He could smell her now. Wild and strange, not human, not animal. Her skin glowed faintly, as if her blood carried light. Why are you following me? He asked, trying to sound brave. She circled him slowly, her feet silent on the jungle floor. Because you interest me, she answered. I've hunted many, but none like you. Daniel turned. Keeping her in his sights, she didn't attack, didn't pounce. Instead, she raised one clawed hand and pointed to the trees. This jungle belongs to me, she said. But you walk through it like it's yours. I'm just trying to survive, he said quietly. She nodded slowly. Survive, she repeated. Such a beautiful word. Daniel's arms were getting tired from holding the rifle so long he didn't dare lower it. Not yet. Do you always play with your food? He asked, trying to provoke her. She paused, her golden eyes narrowing. Food. She repeated, no, not food, not yet. There was silence between them, thick and heavy. The jungle around them seemed to wait, holding its breath. Why not kill me? Daniel asked finally, if I'm prey, just finish it. The huntress stepped closer. So close now he could hear her heart beating, slow and steady. Because I don't want to kill you. She whispered. I want to understand you, Daniel. Blinked, surprised. He didn't expect that answer. She leaned in. Her voice like wind in the trees. Do all humans smell like this? Alive, wild, afraid, but strong. He swallowed hard. I wouldn't know. Her fingers moved, and for a second, he thought she would touch him, but she didn't. She just hovered there, inches away, as if feeling the warmth of his fear. You smell like war, she said. Like a story that hasn't ended yet. Daniel didn't know what to say. He had never heard anyone describe him like that before. The huntress turned away and looked up at the canopy. The faint blue light shimmered over her body, outlining her tall, lean form. Her muscles moved smoothly under her skin. Like a creature made for hunting and dancing at the same time. I've hunted beasts, soldiers, monsters, she said, but none of them looked at me the way you do. Daniel lowered his weapon just a little. Still ready, but less sure. How do I look at you? He asked, like I'm not just a killer, she said, almost whispering, for a moment. Something soft passed between them. Not peace, but something close. A question neither of them could answer. Then the jungle screamed, a loud roar in the distance. Broke the moment, Daniel raised his weapon again. What was that? The huntress turned her head slowly. Others, she said, her tone darker now. They've come for you too, but they don't play like I do. Daniel's heart raced. Then why are you warning me? She didn't answer. She just looked at him one last time and vanished into the shadows again. Her voice, floating behind like a wind through dead leaves. Run, human, before they find you. Daniel stood alone again, but it didn't feel like before. He was still being hunted. But now something had changed. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about understanding the hunter and staying alive long enough to know why she chose him. Daniel didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. He found shelter beneath a large root system, curled tightly in the base of an old tree. Covered in glowing moss, the jungle made strange sounds. Low calls in the distance, rustling from time to time, but nothing came close. Not yet, but he could feel her. Somewhere out there, watching, waiting, choosing the right moment. The huntress was different from anything he had ever seen. She could have killed him twice already, once in the clearing, once in the trees, yet she didn't. Why? He kept asking himself that question, replaying her words, her movements. The way she circled him like a game, not like a true killer. Morning came slowly on this world. Filtered light from the sky barely touched the ground through the thick canopy. Daniel stepped out carefully, his rifle still in his hands. Though the battery was almost drained, he moved through the forest, always listening, always alert. He didn't know where to go. Just away from the noise he heard last night, away from whatever she warned him about. As he moved, he noticed something strange. No animals, no birds, not even bugs buzzing in the air. It was as if they were all gone or hiding. Then he saw its scratches. In the bark of a nearby tree, deep and sharp, claw marks, 4 in a row. Too large for anything small, they were fresh. He touched them and pulled his hand back quickly. The bark was still warm. She was close. He turned slowly, scanning the area, expecting her to jump out, but no one was there. Daniel took another step, and something small fell from the trees above a bone. Not human, not animal, he knew. Clean and white. He looked up and saw nothing, just shadows. Then he heard her voice again, smooth and near, yet unseen. You walked too loudly today, human, Daniel. Spun around, raising his rifle, but there was no one in sight. You left a trail even I could follow, she said, her tone light, like she was teasing him. "Show yourself." Daniel shouted into the trees, his voice echoing louder than he meant it to. Silence answered. Then a gentle laugh, like breath over his neck. "You are prey," she whispered. And this time he felt it, her presence behind him. He turned fast, ready to fire, but she wasn't attacking. She stood just a few feet away, her body half covered in a cloak made of leaves and shadows. Her golden eyes burned with wild curiosity. "I'm not prey," he said firmly. She raised one eyebrow, amused. "Not yet." Daniel lowered the rifle just a little. "Then what am I?" She didn't answer at first, just walked in a slow circle around him, her steps light, silent, her face thoughtful. "You are a challenge," she said finally. "A rare one. You enjoy this?" he said. Not as a question, but as a fact. "Yes," she said simply, "but not in the way you think." Daniel frowned. "Then explain it." The huntress stopped walking, her gaze focused on his. Most prey runs, cries, begs. They smell of fear only. "It's boring, and me?" he asked. "You smell of fear and defiance," she said, her voice lower now. "You face death, but you do not kneel to it." Daniel didn't know what to say. She stepped closer, and he didn't move. Her eyes searched his, not for weakness, but for understanding. "You are the first human I've seen in years," she whispered. "And you are different." "Different how?" he asked quietly. "You look at me," she said, "not as a monster, but as something alive." Daniel realized something then. She was alone, not just hunting for food or sport. She was searching for meaning. "Are you alone here?" he asked. She didn't answer. Her face tightened slightly, like the question hurt more than a weapon could. "I chose this jungle," she said, avoiding his eyes now. "I stay where others don't follow, because of what you are." Daniel asked. "No," she said, "because of what I did." Silence stretched between them again, this time heavy, not with danger, but with memory. Daniel lowered his rifle all the way, letting it rest against his side. "You don't want to kill me, do you?" The huntress took a slow breath. "Part of me does," she admitted. "It's what I was made for, taught for." "But the other part," she stepped closer, her face just inches from his, "wants to understand why I didn't." Daniel's pulse beat fast, but he didn't step back. "Maybe because I'm not just prey." She nodded once, slowly. Then a sharp sound cut through the trees, a cry. Guttural, deep, not human. The huntress snapped her head toward the noise, her body tense, her fangs showing. "They found us," she hissed. Others like you?" Daniel asked quickly. "No," she said coldly. "Worse." Daniel gripped his weapon again. "Ready." The huntress turned to him, her eyes serious now, not playful. "If they catch you, they won't speak first. Then why stay with me?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Because I want to see what you do next." Daniel moved quickly now, weaving through thick roots and glowing vines. The jungle seemed to stretch and shift with every step, but he didn't slow down, not with those growls echoing behind him, not with the sound of something hunting both of them. The huntress was just ahead, silent and sharp, leaping over logs and slipping between trees like a shadow. She didn't look back, but she knew he was following. And for some reason, she allowed it. "They're close," she said, her voice low and firm. "They're not like me. They hunt in packs. They do not speak. They tear." Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle, its charge blinking red. "One shot left. Maybe." He swallowed hard. "Then we can't outrun them." She glanced back at him. "Just once." "No. But maybe we can outsmart them." They reached a small clearing where old stone ruins stood broken and moss-covered, parts of something ancient and forgotten. The huntress moved fast, scanning the area, marking the stones, the vines, the air itself. Daniel leaned against a cracked column, catching his breath. "Do you have a plan?" "Yes," she said. "You are the bait." He stared at her, his chest rising and falling. "That's not funny." She didn't smile. Her golden eyes were focused. "Serious now. You said you're not prey," she said. "Then prove it." Daniel nodded slowly, wiping sweat from his brow. "What do I need to do?" She crouched and began dragging long vines across the ground, wrapping them between stones and creating a pattern that looked chaotic, but wasn't. "They move fast, but not carefully," she said. "They won't see these." Daniel helped her. "Set the trap, pulling branches, tying knots, dragging thorny plants into place." Their hands brushed once, just for a second. But she didn't pull away. Neither did he. The jungle growled again. Louder now, closer. The huntress stood, her body tense and tall. "When I say run, go through the middle," she whispered. "Lead them here. I'll be waiting." Daniel nodded again. "You sure this will work?" "No," she said. "But it's better than being torn in half." He gave her a look, part fear, part respect. "You're very comforting," she almost smiled. Almost. Daniel took off running toward the edge of the trap zone, his boots cracked. Twigs and kicked up dirt. He made sure to be loud, obvious, like prey. It didn't take long. The creatures burst from the jungle, 6 of them, maybe more. Their bodies were twisted, armored, with long claws and no eyes. Their skin was black and wet like tar. And their mouths were filled with jagged teeth. They screeched when they saw him, voices like metal scraping metal. Daniel ran faster, pretending to stumble. Letting one of them get too close, his heart pounded, his lungs burned. He counted the steps in his head, remembering the path. He dashed into the clearing, leaped over a low root, and slid behind the column. The creatures charged in after him, but they didn't see the vines, didn't smell the thorns. They triggered it all. The vines snapped upward like whips, pulling sharp branches and stone traps into motion. One creature was caught, mid-leap, impaled. Through the chest by a falling spike, another was tangled. Its limbs cut by jagged rock edges hidden in the earth, and then she struck. The huntress flew from the trees above like lightning, her claws glowing, her body spinning in perfect rhythm. She moved with deadly beauty, her strikes precise and full of power. She landed on one of the beasts. Slamming it down, her roar was not human, not gentle, but full of rage. Daniel watched from behind cover, his hands shaking. One of the creatures broke free and charged at him. He raised his rifle, fired the last shot, and the energy bolt blasted. Through its chest, the creature collapsed in front of him. Twitching, another jumped at him, claws wide, but it never reached. The huntress grabbed it mid-air and twisted, snapping its spine with one powerful motion. The fight ended as quickly as it began. 5 beasts dead, the last one fleeing into the jungle, crying out like a wounded animal. Silence returned, thick and heavy. Daniel stood slowly, breathing hard, his eyes locked on the huntress. Her body was covered in scratches, her breathing rough. "You saved my life," he said. She looked at him, blood dripping from her arm. "You saved mine first," she replied. Daniel stepped closer, unsure if he should speak more. "I didn't expect you to fight like that," he said. She looked down at the bodies, then back at him. "Neither did I." For the first time, she looked tired, not weak, but like someone who carried weight for too long. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small emergency pack. He tossed it to her. "Med gel," he said. She caught it, her fingers brushing his, again not pulling away. He sat beside one of the broken stones, wiping sweat from his face. So what now? The huntress sat across from him, her eyes no longer glowing, but soft, thoughtful. "Now," she said, "I stopped pretending you're prey." Night fell again, soft and slow. The jungle's glow returned. Pale blues and greens lighting the dark. Daniel sat with his back to a warm rock. His hands finally still. He was exhausted. Body sore, mind racing, across from him. The huntress crouched near a small fire she had built without saying a word. Her hands moved fast, trained. She cooked the strange meat of a jungle creature they had caught earlier. It smelled odd, but not bad. Daniel watched her, unsure of what to say. She had saved his life again, but more than that, she had chosen to stay. Not to leave him alone, not to vanish into the trees like before. She tore a piece of meat and handed it to him without looking. He took it, his fingers brushing hers. She didn't pull back. They ate in silence for a while, only the crackle of the fire between them. Finally, Daniel spoke, his voice low. "You could have left." The huntress didn't answer right away. She stared into the fire like it held secrets. "I wanted to," she said finally. "But something changed." Daniel chewed slowly. "What changed?" "You," she said simply. "The way you fought, the way you looked at me when I was bleeding. Not like a creature, but like a person." He looked at her through the firelight, her features softer now, her golden eyes calmer. "You're not just a killer," he said. "I saw that." She nodded once. "I was trained to be," she whispered. Born into a clan that only valued blood, death, trophies. Daniel leaned forward, curious. "You left them?" "Yes," she replied, her voice distant. "I disobeyed. I spared a child once, and they marked me a traitor." Daniel listened, surprised. He hadn't expected her to share something like that, not from someone who once whispered about tasting his flesh. "I came here," she continued, "to disappear, to hunt for myself. Not for their praise." Daniel's eyes stayed on her. "And now you're protecting a human." She looked up at him, her head tilted. "Maybe I am," she said. "Or maybe I'm just curious how long you'll survive." They both chuckled. Just a little, the firelight dancing between them. After a pause, Daniel spoke again. "I had a brother," he said. "He died in a fight like this. Different planet, same stupid war." The huntress looked at him, not mocking, just listening. "He always said humans are too stubborn to die easy." Daniel added. She smirked. He wasn't wrong. They finished eating, and silence returned. This time, not heavy, but calm. The huntress stood and looked around the trees, her senses still sharp, always alert. "We should sleep in turns," she said. "I'll watch first." Daniel nodded, too tired to argue. He stretched out near the warm rock, but before closing his eyes, he asked, "What do I call you?" She paused, as if surprised by the question. "My kind don't use names the way humans do." "Still," he said, "I want to call you something." She thought for a moment, then said, "Call me Kareth." Daniel smiled. "All right, Kareth." He drifted off with her name in his mind, her voice still echoing somewhere deep inside him. When he woke later, she was still there, sitting by the fire, watching the jungle. Her eyes didn't blink often, her body still and tall. "You returned to sleep," he said softly. Kareth stood slowly and lay beside the rock. Not too close, but not far either. Daniel took her spot by the fire. Watching the way the flames reflected in the leaves, he thought about the way she moved. The way she protected him, the way her voice had softened. She was no longer just a threat. She was becoming something else, something more. Hours passed, and the fire grew small. Kareth shifted in her sleep, mumbling something in her own tongue. A language filled with clicks and smooth sounds. Daniel listened, not understanding, but somehow feeling it was about pain, maybe memory, maybe regret. He looked up at the stars, barely peeking through the canopy, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Wondering how this strange bond between a soldier and a huntress could grow in the middle of a deadly jungle. He whispered into the quiet night, "Maybe we're both just tired of being alone." Kareth didn't wake. but a soft sigh escaped her lips. Daniel added more branches to the fire, his thoughts warm and strange. He had come here expecting to die, to become just another forgotten name in the war logs. Instead, he had found something unexpected, a strange bond with a creature who once called him tender, and now called him something more. Asterisk. The sky above the jungle turned a dull red. The color of warning, not beauty. Daniel stood at the edge of a cliff, looking out over a distant valley filled with strange smoke and shifting shadows. The air smelled sharp, like burning metal and old blood. Kureth stood beside him, silent, her golden eyes fixed on the horizon, her jaw tense. "They're coming," she said quietly. Daniel turned to her. "More of those beasts?" "No," she replied, her voice lower than usual. "These are not beasts. These are hunters, my kind. They followed my scent, or maybe yours." Daniel's heart beat faster. "They're tracking you." Kareth nodded slowly. "They found out I spared a human. They don't forgive that." Daniel stepped closer. "Then let's move. We still have time." Kareth didn't move. Her gaze stayed locked on the distance. "If we run, they'll chase. If we fight, we both die." Daniel clenched his fists, frustration rising. "Then what's the plan, Kareth?" She finally looked at him, her eyes unreadable. "They won't hurt you if I give you up." The words hung in the air like knives. Daniel's chest tightened. "You'd do that?" Kareth stepped closer, her voice soft now. "No," she whispered. "But they expect me to." A low growl echoed through the trees. Sharp and angry, not far away, Kareth moved quickly, pulling Daniel into the shadows beneath a large tree. Her body tense, her breath steady. "Listen to me," she said, "when they arrive. I'll speak for both of us. Do not talk unless I tell you to." Daniel nodded, his back pressed to the tree. His weapon was useless now, just dead weight in his hand. Minutes later, they arrived. 4 figures stepped into the clearing. Tall and powerful, their armor shimmered dark green. Covered in battle scars and clan markings, their faces were half covered with metal. Eyes glowing faint red, the lead hunter stepped forward, his voice deep and cruel. "Kareth," he growled, "you reek of weakness." Kareth stood tall, her face hard again. "I hunt by my own law now," she said. The others laughed. "A sound full of hate. You took in prey," the leader said, pointing at Daniel. "You sleep beside him, feed him, protect him." Daniel stayed still, watching, waiting. The leader drew a blade, long and curved, covered in old blood. "You have one chance, Kareth. Kill the human, and your honor may return." Kareth didn't move. The blade pointed at her now. "Or we kill you both." Silence stretched like a rope between them. Kareth looked at Daniel, just for a second. Then she turned to the hunters and spoke. Her voice clear and sharp. "He is not prey." The other hunters hissed, angry, confused. "He is strong. He is loyal. He is not like the others," she said, "and I will not harm him." The leader stepped forward. "Then you are broken," he said, raising his blade. Kareth blocked the strike with her arm. The blade slicing her skin, her blood spilled, glowing bright against the ground. Daniel lunged forward, tackling the hunter from the side, knocking him off balance. The others roared in surprise. Kareth spun and kicked one into a tree. Her strength wild and full of fire. Daniel grabbed the fallen blade and swung it, catching one hunter across the chest. The armor cracked, and the figure dropped with a thud. Kareth fought beside him, her movements fierce and smooth. One hunter charged her, but she ducked low and drove her claws into his side, ending him in seconds. The leader stood again, growling, "You would throw away your blood for this human." Kareth stepped in front of Daniel, her body marked with cuts and dirt. Her eyes blazing. Yes, she said, because he gave me a reason to be more than just a killer. The last hunter lunged. But Daniel moved first, driving the blade. Deep into his chest, the alien dropped silently. Only the leader remained, breathing hard, bleeding. Kareth approached slowly, her steps careful. Leave, she said, or die here. The leader looked between them, broken and stunned. Then vanished into the trees without another word. Silence returned once more. Broken only by the sound of their breaths, Daniel dropped the weapon, falling to his knees. That was insane, he said, between gasps. Kareth knelt beside him, placing one hand gently on his shoulder. You fought like one of us. He looked up at her, blood on her face, tears in his eyes. You chose me. She nodded slowly. I chose you. The fire in the distance faded, and the jungle grew quiet again. Two lives, once enemies, now stood together, bound by survival, respect, and something else neither had words for. Rain began to fall, slow and steady, washing blood from the leaves and cooling the scorched air. Daniel sat beside a dying fire, staring at the sky as water dripped from the thick canopy above. His clothes were torn, his body sore, but his heart beat steady. Kareth stood nearby, silent and still. Her wounds were wrapped in cloth from Daniel's emergency kit. Her breathing was calm now, her eyes watching the jungle with the same sharpness. But there was something different to softness. Neither of them spoke for a while, letting the jungle breathe around them, letting the moment settle. You could have killed him, Daniel said finally, his voice soft. The leader, but you didn't. Kareth didn't turn. Killing him would have made me one of them again, she said, and I'm not. Daniel nodded slowly. Not anymore, Kareth. Sat across from him, her claws folded in her lap, the sharp edges now quiet, like weapons put to rest. Do you regret it? Daniel asked, choosing me. She looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head. No, she whispered. I've hunted my whole life, but this is the first time I protected something. Daniel met her gaze, his voice gentle. I'm not something. She smiled just a little. No, you're not. You're human. He chuckled quietly, despite the pain in his ribs. I hope that's a compliment. Kareth leaned back against the stone behind her, her body relaxing. It is now. Thunder rolled far in the distance. Low and soft, Daniel knew. Their fight wasn't the end. There would be others, other dangers, other enemies. But he no longer felt alone. What happens next? He asked, watching raindrops fall from a branch. Kareth was quiet, then said, I don't know. I never planned to live this long. Daniel looked at her carefully. You were ready to die. She nodded, her voice steady. Every day I woke up, I thought maybe today is the end. He leaned closer, his voice low. But now? She paused, searching the trees, then whispered. Now I want to see what tomorrow looks like. Daniel felt something deep in his chest. A warmth that wasn't from the fire or the rain. He reached out, placing his hand lightly over hers. Her claws twitched but didn't pull away. I don't have a home anymore, he said. My ship is gone. My squad. Probably all gone. To Kareth's eyes softened. Then stay, she said. This jungle is cruel, but it's honest. We can survive here. Together. He smiled at the word. Together. That night. They didn't sleep much. The rain eased, and stars peeked through cracks in the sky. Daniel told her stories about Earth, about warm coffee and noisy cities, about songs and jokes that made no sense. Kareth listened, quiet and curious, asking strange questions, laughing at things humans take for granted. In return, she told him stories of her kind, of silent nights training under blood moons, of lessons carved into skin, of a world where strength was the only language. Daniel realized something as he listened. She had never been given a choice until now. Days passed, then weeks. They built shelter from leaves and bones, hunted together, shared food and silence. Kareth taught him how to move through the jungle without sound, how to feel the ground instead of just walking on it. Daniel taught her how to cook with fire instead of just flame, how to laugh at mistakes, how to sit without planning the next kill. One morning, as light poured through the trees in soft golden beams, Kareth stood beside the edge of the cliff again. Daniel joined her, his rifle slung over his shoulder. Repaired and charged, he looked at her, eyes steady. If a ship comes, if humans find us, ... what will you do? Kareth didn't answer right away. Her eyes scanned the sky, as if searching for an answer up there. Finally, she said, "If they come for you, I will not run. I will stand with you. And if they come for you, he asked, her lips curved. "Just slightly, then I hope you remember how to fight." Daniel laughed softly. "I won't forget." She turned to him, their eyes meeting. "You were prey once," she said. "But now? You are my equal." He nodded. "And you were my hunter. But now you're—" He paused, searching for the word. Kareth waited, eyes calm. Daniel finished quietly. ... Mine." She didn't speak, just stepped forward, close enough that he could feel the warmth of her body beside him. Her claws brushed his fingers gently. No more games, no more chasing, no more predator and prey. Just two lives that once clashed in fear, now bound by something far stronger, trust, and maybe something deeper still.